Obviously, we had VE Day recently.
Yeah, VE80, yeah.
And watching the BBC coverage of that, your images were pretty much at the forefront on how big were they, first off, and how many did they
They wanted as many as they could possibly get. I think it amounted to about 37 of them that were shown.
Wow.
But they were big. I mean, I didn't know how they were going to show it.
Glyn, thank you ever so much for joining us.
More than welcome.
We've worked together before with live streams through the 2020 period and things like that. So, it's great to have you face to face, really. And, you know, we keep crossing paths at the photography show and stuff. And now we're here at Southwest Photo Show.
The first one.
First one. And it's been epic. It really has. It's been amazing to see so many people come. So many creatives kind of all mingling together and seeing one another. And there's so many people who want to talk to you. As soon as you arrived, people were just sticking to you like glue. They wanted to chat. They wanted to find things out. They wanted to speak to you about stuff. You obviously had your talk, which has been massively popular as well. So great to see everyone in there.
Cool.
And at some point, I need to release you back out there so everyone can carry on asking you all the questions.
Sure, yeah, no worries.
I did a little bit of looking online because I just thought, I know you're big, I know you're popular, which you won't say you are, but YouTube alone, you have over 300,000 subscribers. And that has given you a staggering 20 million views. That is insane. And you've obviously got other socials as well, so there's going to be huge numbers there too. But that is crazy to think that so many people have watched your content and learn from your content, because you spend a lot of time teaching people techniques, whether it's editing or whether it's outside shooting and things, and that's really great. But you're a photographer, you're an author, and I think you're just all round quite an inspiring person in creativity, because I feel your ethos is so much about the people that look at your work, and you want to help people throughout photography. And I think that's amazing. I really do.
Thank you. I do. I love doing it. And I think one of the words that people say when they sort of speak to me or they see me do something is they always say that your enthusiasm. Do you know what I mean? And I can honestly say that it is 100% genuine. I am probably now more excited about what I'm doing than what I did when I first started, because I'm just loving all the advances and things. I do generally get really excited about it.
And it shows. It really does show. And, I think that feeds off into people, like you say, and that really makes it an engaging content that you make. When you did the live stream with us, it was around your project 39 to 45. Portrait work that you did in there, which was, there's so much. You can take pictures, like people take pictures, but your project had such a meaning behind it, and the people that you met, and it was the stories that you told at the same time. It wasn't just a photo, it was this person and telling everyone about that person and the key roles and how important they've been. Watching, obviously we had VE Day recently.
VE80,
and watching the BBC coverage of that, your images were pretty much at the forefront on how big were they, first off, and how many did they?
They wanted as many as they could possibly get, but I think during the actual time that Sir Willard White was singing, I think it amounted to about 37 of them that were shown.
Wow.
But they were big. I mean, I didn't know how they were going to show it.
Really?
But I knew that because they asked beforehand, when they asked for permission to use them, what have you, they said, look, because so many of the images are like 3/4 shots, even if somebody sat down, but they wanted them all to be like a headshot thing. And they said, are you okay with us doing that? And I was, of course, but I thought what they did when he saw it, I thought, I was so pleased with this. It was so lovely to see it. And it was really sympathetically done. Do you know what I mean? It was just lovely. Really, yeah.
And not a complete surprise, but you, like you say, you didn't know what it was going to look.
Yeah, I didn't know when they were going to show them or how they were going to show them.
How did it feel sitting there watching that live and seeing your work shown in that way?
Quite emotional. I think my wife got more excited than I did. She was literally on the edge of her seat going, oh my God, look at that. But for me, genuinely, I was really happy, of course, who wouldn't be? But I knew that there were relatives of those veterans that were shown that would have been watching. And there was the chance that their father or their mother could have been shown on the thing. But because the way the cameras were going to shift to show like the king, the crowd and whatever, they weren't guaranteed to see it on the screen, but they did show a lot of them. And I just, every time I saw a veteran's face appear, I thought, oh, Di Walton's going to love that, you know, or Jenny's going to see that. And so I knew the family, and it was just like, that's what I loved, because they became, it wasn't just a portrait and never to be seen again. You did build a relationship, not just with the veteran, but the families as well, you know.
And where, so when you started the idea of this project, how did you start it? I mean, was it just like, oh, I just think I'll do this? But how did you go about starting it, and how did it sort of turn into what it has? And you mentioned earlier that you're continuing this project.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, it all started. To make a very long story very short, it all started because I had a fascination with World War II, always had done, and loved my photography. And just bringing the two together was like a marriage made in heaven. But the problem was, when I started it, which was like early 2019, I didn't know any veterans. So I found a group on Facebook called the Normandy Veterans Family and Friends. And they let me join. I did a post explaining what my idea was. And then one lady reached out to me to say, I know somebody you can photograph. So she was testing me really to see that if I was true to my word, and how did I behave and all that kind of stuff. Did I follow through with what I said I'd do? And because I did, veterans' families talked to veterans' families, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew. But there was never the intention for it to become what it did become, because it was purely my way of kind of just saying thank you. Do you know what I mean? Giving somebody a portrait that they can keep, totally self-funded, and for their family to keep. But it really did. I think it really got into people's hearts. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't just portraits. There were video interviews, and then the exhibition happened, and that was lovely because that was their day, and so much more has come from it. But
it must be amazing to hear the stories from them.
Oh yeah,
first hand and everything.
It is. But one thing I was always very conscious of, never asking about the war unless they volunteered about it. Because I think we're all guilty of it. We can tend to think that their life was 6 years, 39 to 45. But you know, when this started, 2019, you're talking 74 years more of life. You know, what else did you do? So that's what I would ask them about as well. And
amazing.
And if I did talk about wartime, it was like, what was your training like? Were there any characters that you remember? And then they would naturally then go into some really interesting stuff that talked about. But yeah, I am incredibly fond of what what I've done. I really am, the people. But it has been one hell of a proper roller coaster, emotional roller coaster. It really has.
It must be a real honour to have that as sort of a project that you've worked on. And the collection of pictures are alone, without any of the backstory, any of the extra bits that you've done and spoken about. Just the photos alone are incredible. You know, saying it's a portrait of someone, it's just like, okay, I think kind of some people might find that, okay, it's a picture of someone. But just that image alone is really tells something there.
Yeah, it's nice of you to say that. It really is. But I've got to say, in the years leading up to that project, obviously I've been doing portraits for a while, but in that short period of time, I learned the most ever about taking portraits.
Wow.
Because, you're photographing people who aren't used to being photographed. You're in their home environment. You're a stranger coming in. How do you get people to relax? Because the ultimate goal was, and it sounds really cheesy, was to get a picture of them. Do you know what I mean? So that when a relative looked at it, they could go, oh, that is so them.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate. Not the best pose, the sharpness and stuff like that. You want someone to go, oh, that is so them. And I remember, there's a couple of occasions when I did return to give the portraits mounted and what have you. I remember this one lady, Catherine, she said, now I've got my dad back.
Amazing.
Doesn't get better.
Yeah.
Doesn't get better. Brilliant.
That's the ultimate sort of.
Oh, yeah,
reward,
totally. Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Along with your portrait work that you do, you're quite experimental, I think, with your editing and techniques and things. You're quite, if something's new released and an update, you're straight on it. You're pretty much the person I will go watch to be like, oh, right, that's what this update is.
Yeah.
How do you find the way there's been this shift in AI, essentially, which seems scary? If we say AI, people get quite... some people really embrace it. Some people are quite... don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
For me, it's almost subtly been there along the way, like the clone tools and things. We don't call it AI, but it's a little bit of the same sort of idea. But how do you find AI and photography?
I am incredibly excited about it. I've got the choice, haven't I? I can either be really anti or really for it. And I just think, well, it ain't going to go anywhere. It's not going to disappear. It's with us to stay, and it's only going to get more and more involved. And I think if we, maybe 2 years ago, I think when Adobe first announced like Firefly, that's when you could just, I mean, all hell broke loose. People were understandably, because they didn't understand it at the time, just the knee-jerk reaction was, this is awful, this is going to replace us, this is going to remove our creativity, blah, blah, blah. But I think as time's gone on, the dust has definitely settled and people are starting to see, okay, I can see how that can be used. And my thing about it is I love it. I really do love it. I don't feel in any way threatened by it. And as I've kind of shown in my talk, what I find that the AI, you can use it in such a way that it helps you you can use it to plan your photo shoots. You can get it to mood board. But the actual editing side of it, you can use it to do the tedious, laborious, non-creative tasks that then frees you up to do more of the creative stuff. So you don't have to use it to do, I mean, it can do anything, literally. You don't have to do anything. You can use it how you want to use it. But for me, it's giving me more time to be creative. And that's got to be a plus.
That's a really amazing way of seeing it, because I don't think anyone would necessarily see AI in that sense.
It's changed my workflow. Like if I think about doing a composite, before the AI and before my kind of mindset had changed, thinking, oh, this is how I can use it. Ordinarily, you'd have your subject, you'd spend ages doing a cutout. And at the start of the whole process, you would spend forever trying to get the hair looking good, using all the tricks you could possibly know. And then you'd get on with all the rest of the stuff. Now, my workflow is I'll do a very basic cutout and I'll just get straight on with the creative stuff. And then at the very, very end, I'll get the AI to do the hair. It's a small part of the picture, but that small part can take a long time. But the AI does it like that for me. So my workflow is literally just flipped on its head.
That's amazing to see it in that sense. Yeah, it's really incredible. So, okay, right. So we're going to stop you there because we know there's people outside who want to speak to you. I've not seen so many people just stick to someone so quickly. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out to come and see us. Thank you for coming to the show as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
No, I've loved it. It's great to see it down in the Southwest.
Definitely. And we'll hopefully see you at the next one.
Absolutely.
Thank you.